everyone. Welcome to our inaugural Princeton Transfer Student Virtual Panel. My name is Dr. Keith Shaw. I will be your host today. I'm also the Director for Transfer, Veteran, and Non-Traditional Student Programs here at Princeton. I'm delighted to be joined by 4 undergraduates who are, or were a year ago, in the position that our attendees are in now, newly admitted transfer students who we're hoping to convince to enroll, and in fact did so. So before we get started, I'd like to ask them to introduce themselves to our attendees. So Danielle, could you kick us off? Could you tell us who you are, what you're majoring in, and what school you are coming to Princeton from?
Yes, so my name is Daniela. I'm majoring in Spanish, and previously before coming to Princeton, I went to Miami-Dade College.
Hey everybody, my name is Sam, sophomore here. I'm a politics concentrator and I'm coming from Penn State.
All right, hello everyone. Thanks for being with us today. My name is Vinicius Wagner. I am a sophomore here. I'm in the computer science department, and I came from Palm Beach State College in South Florida, kind of near where Daniela came from.
My name is Avar Morales. I'm a freshman and I'm majoring in economics, and I transferred from University of North Texas.
All right, thank you everybody. So here's our plan for the next hour. So many of you were kind enough to be able to submit some questions that you were interested in us fielding. My aim for today is mostly to just moderate and bat some questions to our students who will be happy to answer them for you. Hopefully you noticed that we have a chat feature in today's program, and you can submit some questions. We'll try to keep track of them as we go. Hopefully we cover many of the concerns that you might have or questions that you have, but if not, please feel free to use that chat feature to submit some questions, and we'll grab as many of them as we can. But to start off, I wanted to think a little bit about and ask our students to think a little bit about where they were this last year in making their transition to Princeton, and particularly in the fall. And so I'm interested in asking you all to think a little bit about what your expectations were in making the transition from your prior school to Princeton. What were some of the ways in which you felt particularly comfortable making that transition? What were some of the ways in which you were actually concerned about some of the challenges you would be facing? And then finally, how those expectations actually met the reality of coming to Princeton. And I think, Vinny, maybe could you start us off, please?
Yeah, sure. So I think one of the things I was most excited about coming here was that, you know, during the 2 years of community college, my experience was mostly a commuter experience, right? I lived like 5 minutes away from the campus, so I could literally just walk there, right? But I was living at home, right? So I think after I graduated from community college, like one of the things I really wanted, and it was probably one of the things I was most expecting, you know, just to enjoy here, was the campus life, right? Living actually in a dorm, away from home. That was one of the things I was the most excited about, right? And sure enough, you know, I'm in New Jersey now, so I'm definitely far away from home, and you know, I'm living in one of the residential colleges here, and it's been a great experience in that sense. I think one of the things that I was most concerned about actually was, I guess I could say I was concerned about it, but I was also excited for it, was how difficult the academics would be here. You know, we hear a lot about how tough it is at schools like these, and I didn't know what kind of a difference it would be, you know, for my community college to hear, right? But I think I had the right expectations. It's been pretty tough or challenging, right? But I've learned so much in just this 1 year that it's kind of hard to like fully describe how much I learned here. But I think the academic rigor was something that I feel like I should have maybe looked more into, or yeah, I would say that was one of the things I was most concerned with. But it's been pretty well though. Yeah.
Excellent. Thanks, Vinny. Others?
I'll jump in. I think so to everybody that's listening, before the panel, a lot of us, we were talking and joking around, and I had mentioned that I think I probably underestimated, to hop on what Vinny was saying, I think I might have, excuse me, underestimated how difficult the academics are here. But I would also tell everybody who's admitted that you're still where you're at in your academic career, you're definitely prepared to come here. It's a transition. There's no question about that. But every one of us and every one of you guys were selected because the admissions officer saw that you could succeed here. So I would probably, to compare where I was at, and the advice that I would have for you is definitely be prepared for a very rigorous academic environment, but also don't feel as if it's going to overwhelm you, that you're not capable of participating in the academics here and hanging with every one of the traditional students. One of my favorite experiences at Princeton so far was the writing seminar that we did with all of the transfer students. And I think for myself personally, it was very rewarding to be in a classroom environment with all of my fellow transfers and to see how intelligent they all were. And it's funny, you always assume that somebody else is smarter than you. So for myself, I could say every one of the transfer students that I was with, I was very impressed by their intellect. And you're going to be impressed by everybody that's around you too, but you're absolutely going to be able to hang. And yeah, I think that'd be my advice for tempering how you're feeling about where you stand now and where you're going to stand in the fall. Be prepared, but I think you're already prepared. So that'd be my piece on it.
Daniela, Alvaro, do you want to jump in?
I guess I just want to piggyback off what Sam and Vinny kind of were saying. I was at the University of North Texas for a year, and I think I underestimated academics here, overestimated my abilities, I guess, in a sense. But it's a transition, like Sam was saying. So as soon as you come in here, it just takes a little bit. It's a different pace, and you kind of get used to it, and you just go from there. So.
Yeah, I think for me, like my biggest concern was like leaving home. My mom was like, where we're from, like if you go to college, like down the street. So like moving to like another state was kind of like a big deal for me. But I think that to me, that's been probably the most rewarding thing, like being on my own and like figuring things out and like being responsible. Not that I wasn't before, but it's a new kind of experience when you're living on your own in a new state, and like you're going to school and like you're balancing all these other things. And I think that to me, that's been a really positive experience. It was a concern at the beginning, but now it's kind of been one of the biggest pluses. Oh, I do love my family. That's all I'm trying to say. But I appreciated being just being able to just be in a place where I can just focus on my academics and kind of just do what I do like my extracurriculars, do my things, and just kind of focus on myself and like really just take that time to like just grow as a student and like just as a person as well.
Yeah, thank you all. Could we add maybe a little bit of detail and a little bit of narrative to this? So what I'm hearing from all of you is a version of this was certainly challenging. It was a challenge that you were mostly prepared for, but then also you had to work a little harder, a little smarter to be able to figure out what this environment was like and what it took to succeed. Would you mind maybe walking me a little bit through what the sort of transition from your summers into your first semester looked like, and what were some of the moments that really stuck out to you as moments that you really valued about that first semester, where you felt like you learned something especially valuable, or maybe some of the surprises, things that you didn't necessarily expect to be true of Princeton, but were welcome discoveries?
Yeah, so I think I can answer this one. One of the most important skills that I gathered in my first semester was something that I didn't really develop back at community college, and that was seeking help, right? It kind of ties into what we were talking about before. In my community college, I kind of just, I did things a bit my own way, right? If I ever needed help on a certain subject, I would just look it up online, right? I never reached out to my professors or went to office hours or anything. But that changed here, right? I realized that all my peers were also going to office hours, reaching out to their instructors or their TAs. And once I started to do that, I realized just how helpful that was, right? And it wasn't just things like office hours, but going to some of the academic resources they have here, like tutoring, that pulled me through my first semester, right? So, in terms of like the transition here, it was tough, but there are certainly avenues to ease that transition, right? The academic rigor here.
I'll go ahead. For myself, I think in the academic sense, the biggest hurdle for me was dealing with the reading load. So as an A/B student, if you take 4 classes, you can assume that you'll probably, in your first semester, you'll be taking a language. So if you have 3 classes, 3 A/B classes, you'll probably get between 75 to 200 pages of reading for each class. And especially once you start cracking into the 300 level classes, it'll probably average around 150 to 200 pages per week. And for myself, the difficulty in tackling those assignments was just that I'm so meticulous. I want to read every single word, and that's just not something that you can do. And I think here, compared to my classes at Penn State, the professors, I think, will intentionally give you more than you could complete to your liking. You need to figure out a way to read as much as you can, read what you have to, and synthesize what you have to in order to participate in the discussion and keep yourself prepared for the exams or quizzes or whatever it is. That was the biggest hurdle for me in my first semester. I think I figured it out a little bit this semester, but it's definitely ongoing. I think as far as the reading is concerned, I'm more excited for next semester because I think I'm going to be better prepared, and I have a system that somewhat worked out for me. Academically, that was the hurdle for me.
I think that's a really useful line of inquiry to explore here a little bit. So I'm hearing that, so I had to change my strategy a little bit to figure out how to succeed, right? And so I think it would be helpful if you all could maybe describe an example of something you changed about your approach to attacking your classes that you have found helpful over the last year that might not be something that our incoming transfer students would definitely use, but at least something that they could consider. And if it's not necessarily a learning strategy, maybe it's something like a resource, right? What's a point of contact or a program or a resource on campus that you found valuable that maybe the 1 year ago version of you might not have thought to use?
Yeah, I can take this one off.
Go ahead, Omar.
Right, provides tutors, and for me, my first semester coming in, I was struggling a little bit in a physics course, and so I talked to my director of studies, and she was like, we can set you up with a tutor, same time every week, and that really, that was like something that really was able to help me finish that course successfully.
Excellent. Could you, sorry to interrupt you, Alvaro, but could you explain what a director of studies is?
Yeah, sure. She's pretty much it's in the name, kind of director of studies. She's just in charge of overseeing the students to the specific area that you live in.
Yeah, so for every incoming student, you're assigned to one of our 6 residential colleges. And within those residential colleges, there's both a dean and director of studies. And these are people who really know the curriculum inside and out and serve as one of your most important advisors. They help you think through planning classes, knocking out general education requirements, figuring out how to pursue different certificate options. And so this is someone who's part, and probably the single most important part of the advising structure here as you pass your way through the curriculum. But did anybody else want to speak to any particular kind of change in your approach to learning in the classes or resources that you were reaching out to in the last year?
Yeah, I have something I'll add in. And it's pretty simple for me, but I did 4 semesters at Penn State. And in 4 semesters of taking 5 classes every semester, so in 20 classes, going every day, I didn't bring my laptop with me one single time. And for me, it's mostly, I prefer to handwrite my notes. I find it's less distracting. I think it works for me better. And I think Princeton is definitely on the train of sticking with the studies that are showing like, okay, it is better to handwrite your notes. But here, there are a lot of things that I've done in every single one of my classes where having your computer at least on you is something that is absolutely imperative. I mean, regardless of what class it is, your professor may be like, all right, if you guys could pull out your laptops, and every professor will have a different approach to things. I've had multiple professors who have said no laptops in the classroom, but nonetheless, when I leave my room to go to class, I always have my laptop in my backpack. And for me, I mean, it was an easy transition to make. But from being sort of anti-laptop and really wanting to handwrite all my notes to making sure that it's in my bag every day when I leave my room has been something that I've noticed I've changed to.
And I'll jump in and just talk about resources. So my first semester here, what made it, I think, relatively really challenging was that all my classes were really writing intensive. So I didn't do the best job of like figuring out my schedule when I realized like I was writing like a lot of papers like all the time. So I think going to the writing center here really helped me, and like just having someone that like listens and that can like bounce off ideas and can be like, well, yeah, but like let's look at it through this angle, and just things like that was really helpful. Just because like the writing center back at Miami-Dade was more about like grammar and like things like that, versus the writing center here is more about like ideas and like developing your paper, and that was very helpful with the kind of academic writing that happens at Princeton. And like you'll go through that transition in your writing seminar, but having that extra support was very helpful.
Yeah, and it's good to add that our writing center here is A, open almost all of the time, and B, is free. And so this is an opportunity at Princeton where you get the option to work with experienced fellow writer one-on-one for an hour, whose sole job is to help you develop the argument for your essay. And it's a really wonderful resource that we have here. Moving on, one of the things that we wanted to talk about early is one of the things that's distinctive of all of you just as transfer students. And this is thinking about the way that your past coursework translated over into Princeton. So you are all members, panelists, you're all members of the first class of transfer students we've had since 1990, and we're speaking to the group that we hope will be members of our second. And one of the things that is difficult about the Princeton curriculum is not just how rigorous it is, but how sequenced all the courses are, and therefore how it makes it somewhat difficult for people to kind of drop in at the beginning of the sophomore year. And it's just the reality of the case that all four of you willingly sacrificed a lot of hard-earned credits to choose to come here. In the case of three of you, I believe you came in as sophomores, as one of you came in as freshmen. And I'd be interested to hear a little bit about how you thought about that process ahead of time before you made the decision to enroll, and now how you feel about it now, given where you are in the curriculum, where three of you are rising juniors. For those of you watching, we're in finals week right now, and one of you is a rising sophomore. So how did that decision feel to you at the time, and then also now?
I think I'll jump in. I think for me, it was actually a big part of my decision because I went to community college for 2 years, and the community college that I was at, it was kind of like, you're gonna do all these credits, like we would make sure that like a lot of my things would transfer in. So then when I got my course evaluation, I was like, oh, I like my credit evaluation. I was like, oh, I wasn't kind of expecting that. Although it was like on the website, and like I had like hoped that I would come in as a junior, which I'm glad I didn't, because of like independent work, and just like jumping in would have been too rough of a transition. And I think that as I was evaluating the schools that I was considering it was also a factor of my other institution that I was considering. So it wasn't like, I don't think it's like just a Princeton thing. I think it, like most schools, some schools do want you to like have most of like your education with them. So like the 3-year case is pretty, so that happens a lot. So when I was considering it, I kind of looked at it like, I want to go to law school. Like I've already done 2 years. Like, do I really want to prolong going to law school? And like at the beginning, I thought of it as like, oh, I'm losing a year, or like they're holding me back, or like they don't think I'm ready. Like I looked at it from a very negative perspective. And then I think as I was like deciding on like what to do, and then I think while I've been here, I've kind of shifted my focus to like, I'm gaining a year, I'm getting more access to the resources, I'm getting more opportunities, I'm learning more, I've been able to like experiment and like explore things that I normally wouldn't have. Like I came in as probably gonna like concentrate on like the Woodrow Wilson School, and then I ended up like switching to Spanish. So like I wouldn't have done that if I would have come in as a junior, or like if I had the opportunity. So I think for me, in my case, it kind of worked out with my plan and giving me more time. So I'm glad it happened that way. And I think that it's important to consider your plans, but also like don't really think about it like I'm losing something. Also like you could be gaining something.
And it's interesting for me to hear Daniela talk about that, and to hear everybody talk about it, because I think we all came from a different place. like I already said, I did 2 years at Penn State. I came in as a sophomore, so I lost 1 year. But it was a little bit more than that. I had like 70 something credits at Penn State. And so here at Princeton, it's less traditional, where I think more colleges than not will do one class is 3 or 4 credits. Here at Princeton, it's just basically one class is worth 1 unit, essentially. So I was given 9 credits, which would be 27. And that the visual of that, seeing 27 credits or 9 classes, I didn't really like. But at the same time, for me, it was I feel like my journey to college has been pretty circuitous anyway. So I wasn't too upset about it. I had shared with the other panelists before we hopped on here that my nightmare was getting accepted and having to come in as a freshman, because losing 2 years is something that I just wouldn't have done. But going back, having to do a sophomore year over again, I mean, it really, I didn't lose much sleep over it then. And a year later, I still haven't lost much sleep over it. I think Danielle really hit the nail on the head, which is if there's a place that you have to put in an extra year, Princeton is a good place to do that. And I think in sum, it's just not something that a year later is really too big of a deal to me.
Danielle or Bauer?
Yeah, I think the other panelists they bring up a lot of great points about the academic considerations when talking about the credit situation, right? I would also offer up maybe a look on the social aspect of it too, right? So, ever since I was young, I've always wanted to have like that, I guess, that traditional college experience, right? The living on campus, just being away from home, from parents, etc. Right. Excuse me. And I think had I entered here as a junior, like what would have been the case had I gone to my state school back in Florida, I feel like I would have lost out a bit on that experience. The fact that I came in here as a sophomore, just for context, I feel like I was still able to enter in some of the social circles here, right? Because inevitably by your junior year, you probably formed your friend group already. I mean, theoretically you'd be here for 2 years or a little over 2 years. So I feel like that the fact that I came in here as a sophomore actually helped in that sense, right? I had also done 2 years at community college and lost a year coming here. But yeah, so maybe at the time that I found out that decision, I had a few thoughts about that, just if that would be worth it or not. But looking back, in retrospect, I feel like that was a great decision. I mean, of course, I think the academic considerations are weighed more into that, but I think the social aspect is also something that's very very important to consider as well.
Yeah, I mean, everybody pretty much covered everything. I mean, I came in as a freshman, but I only had 2 semesters under my belt 1 year. So for me, going from my university to Princeton was kind of like a no-brainer. It's definitely a place worth losing a year semester over.
So I want to, Vinny had brought our attention to the social scene, and I want to switch to in a moment. But first, a shameless plug about our program. One is that regardless of how many, whether you come in as a freshman or a sophomore, you'll receive the financial aid award for the entire period of enrollment. But secondly, we have a feature that's pretty distinctive to Princeton with the transfer program, whereas if you're coming in as a sophomore, you still have the option during that first year of enrollment, if you want to be able to revert your standing to that as a freshman. And so that gives you the opportunity essentially to test the waters in terms of how you feel like your academic preparation fits you into the curriculum. And if you feel like there's a value in having that 4th year, you're welcome to claim it. And not only can you claim it, but you can also bring the financial aid award with you. But moving on to the social scene, tell me about the campus life side. What is it like at Princeton? How do you view the social climate? And in particular, how does that feel as a transfer student? So in general, our transfer cohort is older than our more traditional student cohort, and we're more likely to bring in students with families. So Alvaro is married, so you're the only member of our panel that brought your family with you. But I'd be interested to hear how your somewhat different life circumstances have affected the way that you view the social scene and your entry into the community.
Right. So like Keith was saying, I'm married. I'm 25 years old. I don't have any kids, so me and my wife are staying inside the dorms. And, you know, my wife is kind of just like somebody else part of the group there. You know, people around us always say hi to her. She interacts with them, you know, the same way I do. And then I would say Princeton is very, like, definitely more academic, you know, scene, but there is a social scene. So whether you're interested in business, entrepreneurship, finance, or computer science, or whatever it is, there's a group that's there, and you know they're willing to interact with you, and that's really easy. So that part's been great. I've been willing to meet students who are interested in the same thing I am. So for me, it's coming from a military background. You know, I had a student the other day ask me, you know, how are you able to interact with kids, you know, who are 17, 18-year-old? And I said, well, for me, when I was, you know, a sergeant in the Marine Corps, that was my everyday life. You know, I had Marines who were 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So that part of the transition isn't really difficult for me, or wasn't for me.
Right. Yeah. Just to speak off that a little bit too. So you know, we're in my case, I'm living in a hall with mostly freshmen, right? So these are you know, people who are around 17, 18 years old, right? And I'm 24 years old, right? So there's a bit of an age gap there. And honestly, I didn't really know what to expect, you know, in that sense, if I would be accepted into that group, but I really was. And it's like a weekly thing, actually. A lot of the freshmen, they come to my dorm or my neighbor's dorm, who's also a transfer student, right? And they come and they ask just questions about life, right? They stop by seeking our wisdom. It's actually a very funny thing. And I don't know, it's been very welcoming. People are super curious to know about our pasts, right? Because, you know, these are the first, you know, our class and this coming class right here, they're the first class in such a long time, right? So the campus hasn't really had that much exposure to people, you know, with such varied life experiences, right? So I would say the environment in that sense has been very welcoming and very curious. So it's been nice.
I'll jump in. So I guess another concern when I had coming in was like, oh, like, are people gonna look down at me because I came from community college? Or like, is there gonna be like, they're gonna be like, I don't belong here? Or like, how is that interaction gonna be? And I think that like every single person that I've met, that I mentioned that I'm a transfer, they're more like, they're like impressed by like our cohort. They're like really interested in us, and like they really want to know more about the experience. So like on that side, I think I've had a very positive experience. I also think like socially, like I think you do have to put yourself out there, especially coming in as a sophomore. I didn't have a roommate, so then like I kind of had to like force myself to like not study in my room and like put myself out there and like making sure that I was making those connections. But like I'm already a social person, so that was not too difficult for me. But there were times where you also just need to like be a part of the campus life and like do that and like not just only focus on academics, because if not, you only do miss out on that aspect of it. I also did like join an eating club, which was something that I didn't think I would do coming into Princeton. But I think it really helped me find like kind of a community on campus and like a space where like I feel comfortable in and I feel welcomed and like and socialized. So I think just not closing yourself off to things that you don't think you might be interested in, just looking from like the outside. Just looking at the website, I was like, I would never join an eating club. But now that I'm here, it's been probably one of the best experiences I've had.
With apologies for interrupting, Danielle, would you mind defining eating club for our audience?
Yes. Okay, so eating clubs are kind of where juniors and seniors, and you kind of like during the second half of the semester, sophomores start getting invited. But it's where juniors and juniors and seniors, like upperclassmen, that's where you eat your meals. It's also where a lot of like the social scene happens. So it's kind of like, it's a physical house that you go in to eat your meals and then occasionally party and socialize, and they have events and things like that.
It's like very, very sophisticated Greek life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a good way to put it.
Yeah. We also do have Greek life, but it's not as important as the eating clubs.
I think the social scene for myself, one thing I noticed is Danielle talked about how it's pretty easy to get involved on campus. There are, and Alvaro mentioned earlier that it is, I mean, it is an academic culture for sure, but there are just so many clubs that you can get involved with, that if you want to find a group, you can absolutely do it. I think I am myself personally, to engage that way is something that I sort of kind of force myself to do. I don't think I'm necessarily inclined to do that. You know, I even when I was at Penn State, I was a non-traditional student, but here, as a non-traditional group, we're very small. So everybody else is very traditional, and if you need to figure out a way to get yourself involved. And as long as you can sort of force yourself to do that, you're going to be fine. There are so many clubs to join, so many people that are doing things. And my interaction with the young kids, as far as an age gap, it has not been something I've found limiting at all. Of course, I've had a couple times where, you know, I've had some classmates be like, "Wait, you're how old?" and be a little bit surprised about it, which is always funny. But at the same time, I don't ever find the need to tell anybody how old I am. It doesn't come up. And if it does come up, I think, like Vinny said, the students here are very interested to hear, you know, what you were doing before, and they ask you questions, and they're genuinely curious. I think that's probably one of the hallmarks of a Princeton student is being curious. So in that sense, interacting with the younger students has not been something that I've found difficult at all. It's nice. And Alvaro touched on the military background thing. You know, one of the things that we do in the military, of course, is try to mentor and lead as often as possible. And if that's something that you enjoyed in your time in the military, that's something that you'll absolutely be able to do here. Just offering advice and mentorship to the students that you interact with, your classmates. And for myself, that piece of it has been nice here.
Yeah, so let's shift to talk about that a little bit more. So Sam and Alvaro are both Marine veterans. Many of our transfer admits are military veterans. What has that experience been like, kind of transitioning both kind of out of the military and then into Princeton, but also out of the military into kind of full-time studentdom? What has that felt like? What have been some of the advantages and challenges, and what could our future student veterans look forward to at Princeton?
I think to talk about it in the more broad sense. So I got out of the Marine Corps in August of 2016, and I started class at Penn State 10 days later. So for me, it was really fast, and I don't think I really caught my breath, and I don't think it all hit me up until the summer after my freshman year, and that's when, you know, the piece of, oh my God, I'm out of the military now, sort of hit me. And the, you know, transitioning from military to civilian, that was kind of a delayed fuse for me because I was so busy. So, you know, in that sense, if anybody finds themselves in that situation, there are people here that you can talk to for sure. The veteran community we're trying to grow, but Princeton specifically, I think one of the things that I was not fully prepared for is, you know, just, I mean, being the actual tip of the spear of the veteran community here on campus. We're very young. We're trying to set things up. I'm the president of the student veteran group here, and luckily, actually, Alvaro is the vice president. And so him and I have been, and the rest of the executive board and all of the student veterans, we've been putting in a lot of work here. And ultimately, the goal, period, of all that work that we're doing is so that each incoming class has to do less. So I sort of underestimated how much work that I personally would have to do, but I'm hoping that if we're doing our job right, that this next cohort will have to do less, and then the cohort after that will have to do less, and that we'll be setting up an environment here at Princeton for student veterans that is welcoming and it's established, and it's something that students can really hop in on. The long-term vision for the group right now is to have a small, agile executive board that can serve the student veterans and not the opposite. Not put student veterans in a situation where they feel like, I have to get involved because if I don't do it, nobody will. That's not what we want. And I think we're on track. And I'd love to pass it off to the VP, Alvaro, and to get his insight on it.
Yeah, I mean, Sam did a pretty good job at pretty much saying, everything we're really working on right now. As far as like, people trying to decide whether to come here or how the veteran group is, or like how that, atmosphere is within the veteran group. Obviously, it's a pretty tight-knit community, right? And I think regardless of who decides to come, it's gonna stay that way. Maybe, that's just like a military thing, but regardless, our group's pretty good about getting along, so.
Excellent, thank you guys. So I want to transition to taking some of the viewer questions. So a number of people submitted questions and we want to talk through some of those, but I also want to remind attendees that using the chat feature, you can submit a question if you'd like. We have a couple. And to just field one of those, one of our attendees is asking about internships. Basically, what are some of the options for internships that you can pursue at Princeton? For those of you who have in fact pursued that, what have you been up to? And how do you learn about them? I mean, what are some of the resources that you've availed yourselves of to be able to learn about what some of the internship opportunities are?
Right, I can talk a little bit about this just because I'm doing an internship over here over the summer, right? So at some point during the talk, we mentioned our director of studies, right? And the director of studies, he or she occasionally sends out emails to the students in that particular residential college, right? And sometimes those emails involve internship opportunities. I think like in just like the last 2 weeks, I've received three emails about that, right? So the internship that I found here on campus came just from one of those emails. They sent us an email with 5 or 10 opportunities, not just here on campus, but all around the country, right? Usually the internships involve doing something at a nearby university or, some sort of articulation program that they have over the summer or just any time during the year. So, I mean, personally, right, I find, these kind of opportunities just online, just a quick search. There are so many, right? But even if you're not searching, it still kind of comes to you here, which is great, right? There are plenty of opportunities like that, and you can just. I think even an easier way to find an opportunity is just to ask a junior or a senior, right? Who most likely has done an internship over the summer, and they will give you plenty of insight into that. But yeah, we definitely get a lot of notifications about internships. That's definitely don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, there's also like the career services. So like they always like have postings of things, so you can always just search the site. I mean, a lot of the internships that I've like looked or like applied to, I just kind of looked through like the Princeton website. But then like you have access to the career service where like they'll have other ones, but also like they can help you with like if you want to like show them your application and like they'll like look over it. I think that's been very helpful for me. I'm gonna be in Mexico this summer, and I found my internship through like a student group that was like, there's this department that's offering this opportunity here, you can apply. So it's really cool because like you have student groups that will like send these out, but then you also have like departments that just have all these crazy opportunities. So I feel like there's always something that you can do. Even like last minute, you can always find something to do over the summer while at Princeton.
Yeah, absolutely. Danielle is 100% correct. I mean, there are one of the things that you should worry least about is an internship. I mean, they're really just here, they're absolutely flowing. And the bottom line is Princeton students are in demand for internships without question. Saying that you're coming from Princeton is a great thing. And here I've noticed compared to my last school, and even just, talking to my friends who went to college after we graduated high school, it seemed as if the traditional wisdom was like, if you had an internship after your sophomore year, you were a rock star. If you did one after your junior year, it was a smart move. And that was really it. But here at Princeton, every student has an internship after freshman year, sophomore year, junior year. I mean, people are getting invited back places. Like Daniela said, there's the Office of Career Services. I mean, really, really good top companies come and recruit here. People can do research with professors. I'm sure, I don't want to steal Alvaro's thunder, but he's doing something cool in entrepreneurship. I mean, there are just an incredible amount of opportunities. So if you want an internship, you'll get one.
Alvaro, take your thunder back. What are you doing?
So Princeton has this thing called the eHub, and it's the Entrepreneurship Center. It's a separate building just across the street from campus, and I'll be participating in a summer accelerator program for a startup started by actually a veteran or an active duty military member here who's working on his master's. And we're trying to help military families build wealth through real estate, since as military families, we have to move every 3, 4, 2 years. So that's what I'll be doing this summer.
That's awesome. So another of the questions that we had submitted was a little bit less about campus life and a little bit more about off-campus life. So we often joke that Princeton is the orange bubble because it's kind of a self-contained space. But of course, we're kind of situated in a community. And so the question was, how often do you all venture off campus and what do you do?
This is a great question. I'll take it. So I'm the resident Jersey boy. I was born and raised an hour from here. So Dr. Shaw was absolutely correct that the students refer to this place as the orange bubble. Princeton is located in a nice suburban town. I think probably the immediate radius around Princeton is not the most exciting. However, anything that you want to do in this area, you can do. Philadelphia is extremely close. New York City is extremely close. Pennsylvania is extremely close, and everything that comes along with each one of these locations, as far as going to pro sporting events, going into the to the big cities to shop or go see shows, whatever you want to do. And there are a lot of student organizations that do these types of things. I live here on campus in Edwards Hall. I'm not affiliated with the Edwards Collective, but the Edwards Collective is a student group. They focus on to be honest, I'm not 100% sure what they do, but they're focused in arts and music and these types of things. And what they'll do all the time is go to New York City to see Broadway shows. There are always student groups that are going, to baseball games, to all these types of things. So being the local guy, I always like to say that there's plenty to do. If you're bored, you can find something to do. You may have to venture a little bit, but if you want to find something, you can do it.
Non-Jersey people, tell us about how much you love Jersey.
Please do.
I mean, honestly, it just depends, like what time of the semester it is, I suppose. But, right?
Winters can be tough.
But I guess this is more of a personal thing. But I've been in the bubble for most of these 2 semesters that I've been here, and I've been enjoying it. But every now and then it's nice to get out. But I think Sam really hit it well. Like I was actually going to mention something like that too. There, just like a little interesting detail. But every semester, the students get 2 free tickets to any shows on campus, or sometimes events that are off campus, right? So sometimes groups of students go to New York City or to watch a play on Broadway. It's a very popular thing that they do here. So there are definitely opportunities to leave campus. But I think in my own case, all the fun things that I've done have been here in some way or another.
So basically, why leave the orange bubble?
Yeah, yeah.
So one question we received, and we were talking about it a little bit beforehand, that I was interested in hearing your own experiences with it, which was, how did you kind of form your friends network? How easy was it? How did it happen? Could you sort of talk us through maybe your first couple of months of kind of entering into the Princeton social scene, and how should our incoming transfer students think about how they're going to develop their own friends network and kind of social scene?
I'll kick this one off and then pass the buck very quickly. But one thing I want to say just on the front end is, for myself, one thing that I really enjoyed was how quickly all of the transfer students came together. It was really awesome. I think every single one of us had just a whole lot of mutual respect for each other, being non-traditional students. Everybody has a great story. I mean, really every Princeton student has a story to tell, but especially with the transfers, everybody's so unique and so interesting, and that bonded us very quickly. So when we showed up for our transfer student orientation, I mean, it was almost immediately that we were a small group, and that absolutely pushed into the semester. So anytime I see, and there are only 9 of us, but when I see one of the transfer students on campus, it's always stop, say hello, see how everybody's doing. So before anything starts, you will at least definitely have a group. And I've said this before, but I think certainly the cohort that comes that was just accepted will absolutely just tack on to our group, and we share that bond. So you'll have that without question.
Yeah. So I think, yeah, kind of going off what he said, I think once you start your first week or first month here, you're already going to have, I would say, at least 3 friend groups, right? The first one being the transfer group that you would have certainly bonded with before. The second one will be either your OA trip group, your outdoor action group, or you'll be doing an activity right before you start classes, kind of like a week-long group bonding activity. So that's another friend group that you'll be making. And of course, if you live on a residential college, you'll have the friends in your hallway, right? So that's already, plenty of friends. But something I would encourage people to do is, although the academics they're a big part of the Princeton experience, definitely find an activity to do, right, that is non-academic, right? You definitely want that in your first semester already. So if you're interested in sports or I don't know, really anything. There's so many clubs here. It's kind of hard to say the extent of that. But like for me, I joined the archery team, right? I've never done archery in my life, but I just tried it out one day, and they said, "Yeah, let's go," right? And that's another social circle that I have. So it's, yeah, you'll definitely have friends here. You also need to put a bit of initiative to go out and find the group that you feel most comfortable with.
Yeah, I don't think you really need to, overcomplicate things. Making friends is, simple as saying like, "Hey, hello, my name's Alvaro," et cetera. Sitting in first day of class, I'm just sitting next to the student. We just start talking. We're still friends to this day. So, just not being afraid to say hello to students here. Everyone's, pretty open and acceptable. So.
Yeah, so we're reaching the end of our time, and so Vinny, you had mentioned before that as a result of your age and experience, students have been coming to you for wisdom, and I think that's something that we're hoping to dispense for our admits before we wrap up. And one of the questions we received, which I thought was a really smart one, was a version of what would you recommend someone who does enroll do during the summer to best prepare themselves for making the transition to Princeton. And maybe we'll have time for one more question after this, but I just wanted to make sure to get to this one. And so this might be, one version of the question is, what's something you did that you'd recommend everybody else do? The inverse, of course, is what do you wish you did and didn't do that you hope they do?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if everyone,
Go ahead, Danielle.
I don't know if everyone's going to agree with this, but what I would say is enjoy your summer. Like, take the time, do things that, like, really excite you, do things that, like, you really care about, be with your family. Like, spend that time to yourself. At least for me, after 2 years of college, I needed the summer. So I would just say, like, enjoy your time. Don't worry too much about Princeton. Like, if you want to do something related or, like, you want to, like, just do something academic, you could, but like honestly, I caught up on like all the readings I never got to do, all the books that I wanted to read, and going to the beach, just doing things that like I'm really not gonna have much time to do once school starts. So I would just say have fun, enjoy it. You have me in summer. I would
agree
take
with that.
The time.
I agree with that completely. You're gonna be busy here without question, and I think to revisit something I said earlier, it's definitely hard here, but you're prepared. And I mean, whatever, maybe Vinny or Alvaro did something in the summer that helped them out, but I'm not sure that there's anything you could do in 3 months that's going to make you more prepared. I think every single one of you is already prepared. And I think Danielle is right. Take the time, enjoy yourself, and be prepared for the fall.
Yeah, I didn't do anything. I just enjoyed my summer.
Honestly, that's probably the best answer, right? Like, I mean, something that I did and the rest that found pretty nice was if you plan on coming here, you know, just start like a a messenger group or something with the other transfers. You know, get to know them a little bit beforehand as well. I found that to be a nice experience. But during your summer before, just enjoy your home. You know, enjoy being with your friends, your family. Go out, right? Save all the busyness and everything else for when you get to college, to the fall.
So one of the things that I've really enjoyed about being able to work with our transfer students is the emotional maturity. And I think that's very much on display with that answer. Princeton will keep you plenty busy. Don't worry about that. It's really important to be able to kind of take the time you need to breathe and relax and be in a position so that you're ready to kind of embark on what's an exciting but also a somewhat exhausting set of challenges in the semester in the fall. So great. I'm glad that our advice is to relax. Since we do have time for one more question, though, I think I'm going to put you all on the spot. One of the questions we received that I thought was a pretty interesting one to ask you to reflect on. What was your single favorite experience about Princeton over the last year? What would be the one thing that you really enjoyed that you would like to share in the hopes that our incoming cohort would be able to have a potentially equivalent experience?
I'll go ahead. And this is, Dr. Shaw knows I'm not trying to toot his horn too much, but I think so far
I know you definitely are not. So I really appreciate whatever you're about to say.
I think one of my favorite experiences so far has been the writing seminar that we had with the transfer students. So Dr. Shaw was our professor for our writing sem, and the class was just the 9 of us transfer students. And that was good for a couple reasons. Number one, it kept all of us together for the duration of the entire first semester. And number two, for myself, it sort of served as like a bi-weekly sanity check where you come in, you see a bunch of friendly faces. You know, more often than not, I think people would come in a little bit early to sort of hang out and talk a little bit before class started. And it was just nice to be in an academic environment with 8 other people that you felt were your actual friends. And so it was this weird combination of a highly academic environment mixed with the comfort of just being with your friends. And that to have that for the entire duration of my first semester was something that I think I actually looked forward to going to class every day, and I think it just helped out my mindset of sort of staying grounded and getting brought back down to earth twice a week, because things get hectic here. It does get busy, but that for me it was a good time, and I think Dr. Shaw, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the next cohort is going to get the same seminar, and that for me is invaluable.
No, that's absolutely right, and thank you, Sam. I appreciate that. Others? All 3 of you are stumped.
Vinny's grinning. I see Vinny grinning.
Yeah, so I think just the first thing that came to mind was it was just one random night. I was in the basement in my residential college with a few of my friends, and we were up late, and we were just just kind of sharing about how our classes were going, and complaining and saying great things and bad things. But I don't know. It was like an unwinding after a tough. It was towards the end of the last semester, right? It was a great moment to unwind a bit. I don't know. I didn't want to make the answer like too like crazy, but it was a nice, very nice intimate moment. I think you got a lot of those. They're small, but they're memorable. With the friends that you make here, and the best part is that you meet people here with so many different like inspirations and passions. Like everyone here, you can see is like brilliant, right? So to hear about what makes them, what makes them go, it just, I don't know, it's a great thing to hear.
Kind of just building off of what Vinny said, mine was actually not too long ago, although Dr. Shaw, I did enjoy your class very much as well. But entrepreneurship and business has kind of been something that's always been interesting to me. And so I just had orientation for my summer internship not too long ago on a Friday, and being able to hear all these students, pitch their companies that they're building from the ground level up, and just being surrounded by students who share the same passion as me, you kind of realize the caliber of students that are here, and it only betters you as well. So,
yeah, thank you, Alvaro. Daniela, bring us home.
I think for me, really, like one of my highlights has really been like joining an eating club, just because I really found, like my first semester, I really struggled because I didn't really find that many Latinos on campus. And then like, I was like, I really made me oh, we need more. You can always use more. So I didn't really find that many. Like I was kind of like really like struggling and really missing home at the end of my first semester. I was like, I don't know if I can do this. I need more. So I think joining an eating club, I think I really was able to like find a lot more people that like I connect with, and like I really just was able to like, it was just like, it was, I don't know. It's just been a highlight of, I think, of this semester, and just like overall, like having access to like people that like I've made, like they're probably some of my closest friends are the people I met in the eating club, and just having people that like relate to me on a different level, and like just being on campus, like being Latina, and like all these things have been very important to me. So I think that just joining an eating club, and I spent all of my time there. I was there to like 6 a.m. the other night studying.
Right.
So it's just like, it's just having like another place to, sometimes just having your own room and being by yourself studying isn't the same than like having a space where you have other people that are also studying and staying up with you. And like, I think that to me has been very important and has been very special this semester.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So we are out of time, and so I want to thank our attendees for listening to us gab on about Princeton, and for submitting the excellent questions that you did submit. I know we didn't get to every single one of those, but I'm also happy to follow up with each of you. You know how to contact me, and I'm happy to answer any of your questions. And finally, I want to thank our panelists very much for making time to talk with our newly admitted students, especially during a very busy time when I know you have all just gotten through Dean's Date and are just jumping into your finals. So we're deeply appreciative for you guys making the time. So thank you, everyone, and good night. And we hope that we'll be seeing you next fall at Princeton.
Thank you.